All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be the latest addition into a series that I've recently started entitled Don't Have Kids Too Young, Black Man. And the reason why I've started that series is because, as I've stated many times in other videos and in other series, the pitfalls and the stumbling blocks that so-called black men encounter in their lives are normally going to occur between the ages of 14 to 30. Somewhere in that time period, you're going to get caught up in some bullshit. And if you're not intelligent, if you're not wise, or if you're not receiving the right guidance or mentorship, you're going to continue to get caught up in stumbling blocks during that time period, because that's a time period of exploration, discovery, curiosity, learning, so on and so forth. It just is. No matter what people of that age are told, they're normally going to try things out just for the sake of trying them out. And one of the things that younger so-called black men try to do, which they're not ready for, is have a serious relationship. In this society, which I call modern day Babylon, you have to grasp that everything is based from a matrix of confusion, meaning at its core, most of the components of this society have a functionality based in propagating trauma, drama, theatrics, and it's normally going to revolve around your relationship with a female. Don't rush anything in these relationships, and do not allow them to rush you. It is your life that is on the line, not theirs. The modern day woman, particularly the modern day liberal woman, knows that there are a series of parachutes that are set up for her if she fucks up and makes bad decisions, which they will do for the vast majority of their life. These women make bad decision after bad decision after bad decision from the age of 13 all the way through their mid-40s. Some of them start to mature around their mid-40s. Some of them may never mature, depending on their mindset. But what they get a great deal of pleasure out of is confounding you, is tricking you, is entrapping you. And because so many younger so-called black men are raised in these black matriarchal households, they're subjected and inundated with a lot of erroneous, quote-unquote, wisdom. And I put wisdom in quotes because the vast majority of these women don't have any real wisdom. Wisdom is basically applied knowledge. How much knowledge are these women applying? Because they have to. Once again, there are so many functions that are set up for them to succeed in case they trip and fall. For the so-called black man, really for men, period, in this society, if you fall, you're going to have to help yourself up. And one of the ways to stop from having to get up all the time is to not fall for the same shit. And one of the main things that you're going to fall for, if you allow it, is quote unquote being in love with a woman that you think is in love with you, getting her pregnant, and then almost unerringly into the 90th percentile, they're going to leave you. They're going to get bored. They're going to become attracted to someone else, even if they have your child. If they're young enough, they're going to leave you. They're going to get bored. They're going to move on to someone else. And if they decide to do that, that's their prerogative. But you should not put them in the position of empowerment by giving them your seed, because now they're connected to you for at least 18 years, really for the rest of your natural life. So make sure that you know what you're doing. So many times, and you see this with professional athletes, they have children with these women. They're 22, 24, 25 years old. I'm going to be covering this in the Joel Embiid video as well. And they think that everything is hunky-dory and smooth. And then they retire from the NBA or the NFL. NFL players are getting divorced into the 80th percentile after they retire. So that should go to show you that most of these women do not really want to be married. They just want the wedding. And it's not even about so-called race, because Jay Cutler's wife just divorced him because she found him to be quote-unquote boring. I'll probably be covering that in a video also. So anyway, in the case of this video right here, we're going to be covering Mr. Gervonta Tank Davis, the star boxer under Mayweather Promotions. He got caught up in a little hijink with his baby mama at some gala, some function, some basketball fundraiser that Floyd was involved in, and he happened to see his quote-unquote baby mama, which automatically triggered him. He got up, wrapped his hand around her neck, and walked her out of the gym, out of the arena, whatever you want to call it. And of course, it was a very, very bad look, because we're living in a society today not only of simps, but just on its face, from a two-dimensional perspective, what he did was wrong. It's not even necessarily just about us living in a simp society, even though that's the case. That just exacerbates it and makes it worse. But at its core, at its root, what he did was wrong. There are going to be a lot of people that we encounter in this life that get off on provoking us. And I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes they're going to succeed in provoking you. That's a part of life. But we have to try to avoid certain situations if we can. But anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Gervonta Davis, the boxing superstar. He's one of the, top young fighters in the game. One of Floyd Mayweather's prodigies. He's undefeated. He knocks people out. He's got crazy power. He's great in the ring. Outside of the ring, he's got problems. Back in February, he put his hands on the mother of his child at a celebrity basketball game in Miami. Everybody saw it. And only now, in September, is he finally publicly admitting, yeah, maybe it wasn't the right thing to do. Now, here's the video. We're going to show it to you from multiple angles here.
That's the epitome of a toxic relationship. The reason why that cat is so angry is because of all the shit that he believes and perceives she put him through over the course of their relationship. Brothers, once you sense a relationship starting to get toxic, and there are many signs that will start to be exhibited, especially by the female, start drafting your exit strategy. Figure out what you want to do, where you want to go, and how fast you want to mosey your ass up out of there. It is not your job to tolerate the nonsense of the woman. Once she becomes bored, she's going to start becoming an asshole. Bottom line. And it could be because she's interested in someone else. It could just be because she's tired of you. It could just be because she wants to go back to being quote unquote single. Who the hell knows? Who knows? Of course, utilize and execute some type of communication. You have to have open communication. But if she's showing repetitive toxic behavior, disrespecting you to the nth degree, move along, man. And for God's sake, do not get her pregnant.
Approaching the woman, putting his hands on her, like shaking her because he was upset that she had the quote-unquote audacity to show up to the celebrity basketball game where he was at, because apparently they're not on very good terms. So he put his hands on her, shook her. They went into a back room. TMZ Sports obtained footage of what happened in the back room where he continued to go after her. She was bruised up. He was actually arrested for this. We have his mugshot. He with 2 charges of misdemeanor battery. That case is still being prosecuted. But while that's going on,
there's no permutation of a so-called domestic violence dispute where you're going to win as a man. It's just not going to work for you, especially with the way in which masculinity is under attack and the quote-unquote patriarchy, meaning order, is under attack. Once again, and I'll probably be covering this in another video pertaining to that topic. But when the modern day toxic feminist talks about the destruction of the patriarchy, she's talking about the destruction of order, because the woman is an agent of chaos. In general, are there exceptions to that rule? Sure. But the woman being an exception to the rule of being an agent of chaos intrinsically is always going to have to be about her being a wife and a mother, because that's what she was created to do. There's not going to be any of these strong feminist females who are going to be in favor of order, because the only way that that's going to exist is if the man is the head. The woman being the head is never going to stipulate or determine order being propagated across society. It's only going to be about confusion. That's why they make sure that the black woman is the head of the so-called black community.
Prosecuted, but while that's going on, he appeared on the Last Stand podcast with Brian Custer and talked about the incident. Like I said, admitting that he made a mistake. Of course he did. And said that he is seeking professional help for an anger management problem. Take a look.
I was just mad, and once I seen her, I grabbed her by the neck. I just told her, I grabbed her like I should, like, you gotta get out of here. Type.
Now, brothers, you heard that? He said as soon as he saw her, he got angry. He got mad. That's from previous trauma that he believes she put him through. If you start to feel those type of energies boiling up within you, that means that you have to stay as far away from that person as possible. And that's why you have to take your time in deciding whether or not to have a child with that woman. So many cats make bad decisions because they were never taught anything. I remember watching a Gervonta Tank Davis fight, and I saw his mother in the audience, and his mother looked like a 45-year-old complete and absolute hood rat. She was in the crowd talking about, that's my nigga right there. You already know, if your mother is calling you nigga with an A at the end, your chances of success in life are slim to none. Thankfully, this brother is great with his hands, so he was able to make a life for himself. But once again, there are so many signs that you're going to see over the course of a relationship that are going to tell you whether or not you want to take a person seriously in any way. And you have to listen to those signs, man. It's very, very important. There are certain things that everyone does to let you know that they're not concerned about the continuance of the relationship on a positive wavelength. If you're willing and ready to continue with them on a negative wavelength, go on and go ahead. The woman is always ready for that. Especially down the stretch, meaning near the end of the relationship. They love that negativity, the makeup, breakup shit, the quote unquote makeup sex, the constant arguing over every little thing, the attempts at provocation to once again initiate the breakup makeup dynamic. They're all for that. It's up to you to decide what exactly you want to tolerate and allow into your life. Because if you allow all that shit, you're going to become traumatized and you're going to be easily triggered, just like this cat right here. Or you're going to make a bunch of children that are going to feed off of the negative rapport between you and the mother, and they're going to grow up to be dysfunctional as well, and the cycle is going to continue. These are all the things that we should be having these magical, mystical conversations about. Not how we can get the white man to give us a fucking hug. That's never going to happen.
And I probably was wrong for doing that. I was wrong for doing that. But it was so much of it, not me trying to hit her, or it's just me. You know how like somebody, you angry at a kid.
Now listen to what he said there. That was very revelatory on his part. He said that was just me being angry. You know how you get angry at a kid? Why is that? Because subconsciously he was saying that he understands that the woman is a child with breasts. That's what they are until they get to be in their mid-40s. They're children with breasts. They do and say things just to provoke you. Are there exceptions to that rule? Absolutely. There are women out there who operate on a higher wavelength throughout their youth. It's just very, very, very fucking rare. But what he was trying to say is, look, I was just trying to hammer up and take her out like a badass kid. You take them outside of whatever function you're at when they're not acting right. But you can't do that because now you're a celebrity. So all eyes are going to be on you. That's why it behooves all of us as so-called black men to use a lot of scruples in who we allow to associate or connect with us. Because especially if your brain is focused on being successful, people can and will hold you back and hold you down.
If I touch you in any kind of way, like far as fits, I'm gonna hurt you. So it wasn't that. It was just me removing her from that situation that she didn't supposed to be in.
Does Gervonta have an anger problem?
No, I say a little.
Gervonta Tank Davis has a problem avoiding bad situations. That's the real problem that he has. He has an issue avoiding bad situations, and that's one of the hardest things that we're going to have to master in life. Is how to avoid shit when you can see that someone's trying to bring you to a place that you don't want to go to.
Just a little. Yes, I had to talk to somebody professional, but it wasn't.
Well, that's good. At least the brother's getting help.
Because it wasn't.
Let me find out his counsel is Floyd Mayweather. Well, Tank. No, the thing is this. No, when you grab up a bitch, you got to make sure that you don't leave no marks. Tank, I mean, come on.
Because I have to. It's more so because of the situation that's like in the future. Know how to deal with stuff in the future.
Of course, I want to applaud Gervonta for seeing a professional and acknowledging.
Look at the chick on the right, the liberal black female on the right. She's upset. You have to understand something with the liberal black female. They're always trying to parse the words of so-called black men because they view themselves as the gods of black men. So they cast themselves as arbiters over anything that the so-called black man says or does. When you look at her face, you can see that she's exasperated by what she heard because she did not hear exactly what she wanted to hear. That's the thing with the modern day liberal female. She has to hear exactly what she wants to hear, or you cannot move to the next phase. They've been set up as gatekeepers in this society over so-called black men. That's why it's truly best for you brothers to be by yourselves as you try to make your climb in this society, unless you're fortunate enough to find a woman who's going to hold you down. And as long as you have the maturity and the ability to respect yourself and that person as well. Because the vast majority of females that you encounter in this society are going to be extremely fucking toxic. Extremely toxic because they're extremely liberal.
But at the same time, you're 25 years old. Yeah, I mean, it still looks like he's trying to kind of explain it away.
Yeah, that's.
No, he was not really explaining it away or trying to. He was having a conversation with the person who was interviewing him. He was not in front of a judge, so it was not like he was trying to escape a verdict. He was having a forthright conversation so that the person who was interviewing him could understand his mind state at the time. I got more than enough of what I needed to hear from Tank Davis when, number one, he acknowledged that he was wrong. Number two, he said he was getting help. All the rest of that shit is just frosting on the cake. Once he acknowledged that he knew he was wrong, and number two, that he's getting help, nothing else should really be an issue here.
That's what I have a problem with. Like, if you're going to take ownership of it and take accountability for something, just take full accountability. We're watching it live. I'm looking at it right now. It's not okay. And then he's trying to say he was removing her from somewhere she shouldn't be. She should be anywhere she wants to be. So
no, not quite. But once again, that is why the modern day liberal black female is not an adequate significant other, girlfriend, wife at all. At all. Just the fact that this person, Renee Montgomery, would say that. No, that's not how real life works. No one can be wherever they feel like being if you're in a partnership or in a relationship. You do have to discuss things with your partner out of respect. That's number one. Number two, the man is the head of the woman. And we know for a fact that Gervonta Tank Davis is the breadwinner in that setup, in that quote-unquote corporation per se, that involves his mother, his other family members, his baby mama right here, and maybe many of his friends. And that's where the issues come in. Once the woman has your child, she knows that she can do what she wants according to the dictates of society. I cannot stress this enough. The woman is an agent of chaos by nature, and if you allow her to become empowered over your life, she will ruin your life if she can, just for sport.
that reasoning is bizarre. His admitting to him having a problem was bizarre, because then he was like, he had to think about it for a long time. Do I have anger? And somebody's asked you that before. You know you have anger problems and you do need help, you know. And
I'm pretty sure that he probably took his time in acknowledging whether or not he had anger problems, because maybe he was not thinking about it in a binary way, as in either you don't have anger problems or you do. He probably was evaluating it in juxtaposition to cats that he knows really have anger problems, meaning you piss them off and they shoot you. So that's why people take their time in answering. Maybe he was actually thinking before he spoke. That's a good thing. But once again, the liberal black woman already has a script in her mind that she believes everyone should be reading from when they speak to her, because they think that they know every damn thing. All liberal women believe that they know every damn thing. So many arguments get started between men and women because of the script that's playing in the woman's mind that she thinks you should be reading from. And that's the detachment that Renee Montgomery has from what we saw in the interview with Gervonta Tank Davis, in which he was very forthright and he humbled himself. The cat made a very bad decision. Move on. It is what it is. Believe me, he probably hit up the broad that night. They probably busted a few nuts that night. But he still needs help.
talk to somebody, because he literally said himself, I need help for future problems in case something in the future comes up. You have a problem and you shouldn't put your hands on.
Well, I'm sure that you have some problems as well, Renee Montgomery. I have very little doubt about that.
Like, it's alarming when he tries to justify it to me, because then that means that he doesn't fully get that it was wrong.
No, that's not what I got from his statement. What I got from his statement is that he was evaluating it in a nuanced way. He knew that he was wrong for what he allowed her to do to him. He allowed her to trigger him in a way that resulted in a situation that could be deleterious to his future if he allows it again and again and again and again. It's almost like someone who is allergic to a certain food. You have to make sure that when you go to a restaurant or a diner or what have you, that you ask the waitress or the waiter or the cook, what's in this? Do you prepare the food with sesame oil? Because I'm allergic to sesame. Things like that that could trigger. You have to make sure that You're always on your P's and Q's. It's difficult for some cats to start to think like that about life when they're accustomed to coming from environments where all you do is react. So now he's learning to think before he reacts. So that's a good thing. Everything in steps and stages.
What's kind of frustrating is, like, I've known Gervonta for a little bit here. I've talked to him, and he can be a really nice guy, and he's clearly so talented.
Everyone can be a really nice person until you piss them off. Everyone has a snapping point and a breaking point. She knows how to get to him. I'm pretty sure that she knew that if she showed up at that fundraiser or that celebrity basketball game or whatever it was, that charity basketball game, that if he saw her, that he was going to get pissed.
Sky is the limit for him in boxing, but this is the type of incident that could ruin his career, frankly. The fact that he didn't...
No, that shit won't ruin his career. What could ruin his career is if he ends up like Ray Caruth or somebody like that. As long as he nips it in the bud, understands what's triggering that anger, and tries to avoid it, he'll be okay. And keep working on whatever his weaknesses are, as we all must.
Packed gym is always the thing that kind of scared me the most, because it makes your mind wonder about what might be happening in Gervonta's life.
Exactly.
Not to speculate too much, but he's
Not to speculate too much, that's all you're doing.
Get together, man. So talented, he can do so much, but you cannot allow this type of thing to happen. He can't.
I also hate the argument that it's like, I'm a professional fighter. If I want to hurt you, I'll hurt you.
Yeah, no.
That doesn't fly with me either. Like, you shouldn't be.
Who gives a shit if it flies with you or not? He's basically saying that he's a trained combatant. If he really wanted to hurt the woman, he could have hurt her. He was upset. He walked her ass out of the damn gym. It is what it is. They've probably been violent with each other many times in the past. It probably was a part of their relationship. The real mistake that he made was allowing it to get there in the first place. Dysfunctionality and toxicity in relationships has been normalized in the so-called black community. Young so-called black men believe that it's okay to have a woman yelling and cursing at them. It's not okay. You allow that, and then the next step is always going to be a physical confrontation. You have to nip it in the bud at the verbal. As soon as they get disrespectful verbally, you have to start thinking about cutting that woman off permanently.
Yeah, of course you shouldn't be hurting anybody. But like what we saw there was you aggressively put your hands on this woman who was just sitting there minding her own business, doing her own thing. You shouldn't have done that. If you have an issue,
one thing that I really have a problem with this, because I see it quite often. He has 5 guys with him, his entourage, his security, his everybody. Why is no one stopping him and saving him from himself?
It looked like homeboy tried to stop him right there with the turtleneck on or whatever he got on, but Gervonta moved so damn quick they couldn't get to him in time.
I'm him. I would be like, you guys are supposed to help me not be in trouble. What do I need you for then? Like, and I know that people are going to say he can control himself, but I would just say, even with these celebrities, watch the people around you, because they sat there and watched him do that in front of a packed gym.
They could just be his security detail. The job of security is to protect the client, not to protect people from the client. But anyway, that's basically it on that, brothers. Please take your time and keep your cool when it comes to the decisions that you make in life, especially pertaining to how serious you take a relationship with a person. It takes a very long time to get to know a person, man. A very long time. People are very good at hiding who they really are, especially if you don't live with them. The number one problem that most people have in their life is entitlement. For some strange reason, people seem to think that everything is supposed to go their way, especially the modern day liberal woman. So these are all things that we should be very vigilant about, not only within other people, but also within ourselves. It'll stop us from getting into dumb shit. But anyway, peace.